Welcome to the Book of Recaps. The movie opens by introducing us to Sarah, our main character, who has just moved to Los Angeles. She's on the lookout for a new apartment. Sarah, a budding fashion designer, was living away from her family. To manage her expenses, she had also taken on a temporary job. While searching for a place, Sarah finds an apartment complex called Ailo Delmare, which fits her budget. As soon as Sarah arrives at the main gate, she notices it opens automatically, suggesting she's being watched. Nevertheless, she goes inside and meets a friendly guy named Brian, who welcomes her. After this, Sarah meets a person named Eddie, who seems very warm and familiar. Eddie starts to feel unwell, and Sarah, along with another kind lady, helps Eddie and makes her sit down on a chair. Next, Sarah goes to see an available apartment. She sees many other people there, which makes her want to leave. However, a man named Jerry stops Sarah and introduces himself as the manager. He explains that all these people are also there for the apartment. Jerry helps Sarah see that this apartment is perfect for her and within her price range. He informs Sarah that, like everyone else, she needs to fill out a simple application. If the apartment is assigned to her, they will get in touch. It's that straightforward. During their conversation, Jerry mentions that no pets are allowed in the building, to which Sarah replies that she doesn't have any pets. Later that evening, we see Sarah in her current apartment when her father calls. This call makes it clear that there's some unresolved issue between her and her family. Sarah gets annoyed and ends the call. Here, we also see Sarah's pet cat, revealing that she wasn't truthful with Jerry. In the following scene, Sarah is at her office when she receives a call about the apartment. She's congratulated for being allotted a one-bedroom apartment and needs to move in quickly. The next day, Sarah moves all her belongings to the new apartment. We see her secretly bringing her cat along. While entering her apartment, Sarah meets Brian, who tells her that the residents are having a barbecue party that evening, and she's also invited. Sarah finds Brian's manner appealing and starts to like him. However, in the apartment complex, they notice a strange man named Lester who seems to be watching Sarah. Every time Sarah sees him, he quickly leaves, as if hiding from her. Eventually, Eddie introduces Sarah to all the residents, including Lester. Lester's behavior seems off, and his appearance is also a bit unusual, as he wears goggles with only one black lens. Lester offers Sarah a book, saying it has changed his life. The book is titled The Power of Community, and Lester is quite insistent that Sarah should take it. But Sarah declines the book, and Lester simply walks away. That evening, Sarah attends the barbecue party and observes that all the residents are very affectionate and helpful towards each other. Sarah feels lucky to have found such a friendly community. On her way back from the party, Sarah drops Eddie off at her place and then goes to her own apartment. While trying to sleep, Sarah realizes she's out of sleeping pills and is disturbed by strange noises, preventing her from sleeping well. The next morning, while ordering her medication, she finds a note slipped under her door. It's a pamphlet about building rule violations, highlighting the no pets allowed policy. Below this, an offensive note is written, stating that some residents are allergic to cats. Sarah becomes very worried because now someone in the building definitely knows about her cat. When she opens her door, she sees Lester standing a short distance away, and she suspects he's responsible for the note. But Lester runs away as soon as he sees Sarah. After some time, Brian comes by and invites Sarah to his place for a dinner party. Sarah accepts even though she doesn't really want to go. At work, Sarah's boss gives her a lot of tasks, and she can't refuse, leading to overtime. Sarah finishes her work with the help of her colleague Lisa, and then they both go to Sarah's apartment. Working late causes Sarah to miss Brian's dinner party. She tells Lisa that since moving to the new apartment, she hasn't been sleeping well due to strange nighttime noises. Additionally, someone in the community has found out about her cat. Hearing this, Lisa suggests that Sarah could move out if she's not finding peace of mind there. However, Sarah doesn't give this suggestion much thought. After Lisa leaves, Sarah goes to sleep, but after a while, she smells something burning. Upon investigating, Sarah discovers that someone has burned her cat in the oven. Horrifyingly, the same pet violation pamphlet is also there. At this point, Sarah is certain Lester is responsible. Before she can leave her apartment, someone comes from behind and injects her, causing her to lose consciousness. When Sarah wakes up, she finds herself tied to a chair. The only person present is Brian, who has tied her up. Somehow, Sarah manages to free herself and runs out of the room, only to encounter Lester, who takes her back inside. Following this, all the residents of the building enter Sarah's room, and we realize that they are all working together. Following this, Brian gives Sarah another injection, and she loses consciousness once more. The next day, when Sarah's eyes open, she finds herself in a locked room with barred windows, dressed in what looks like prison clothes. After some time, Brian and Jerry enter. They order Sarah to face the wall and stand up, but she refuses. At this point, Brian calls for Lester, whose ear is damaged, and he's missing an eye. Brian then states that Lester suffered these injuries because he didn't listen to him. Witnessing this, Sarah becomes terrified and starts obeying their commands. Brian instructs Sarah to stand in a specific position, telling her that as long as the lights on the wall are on, she must remain in that position. They will be watching her through a camera, so she can't even think about disobeying. This becomes a form of torture that Sarah endures repeatedly. One day, Eddie comes to her, and Sarah desperately asks why all this is happening to her. Eddie explains that everyone who comes to live in the apartment has to go through this process. Eventually, Sarah collapses from exhaustion. Jerry and Brian come over and demand that she stand up again. Sarah begs, saying she's incredibly tired, but Brian shows her a gun and threatens her, forcing her to stand once more. Then, Brian says, "Let me help you," and brutally hammers Sarah's hands onto the wall, leaving her alone. After a while, Sarah begins to hallucinate, imagining her father has come to rescue her. She somehow manages to pull her hand away from the wall, but there's no one else in the room. Sarah falls unconscious to the floor. Jerry and Brian then enter the room and congratulate Sarah, telling her she has passed this test. The women present take Sarah away and tend to her injuries. During this, Sarah notices wounds on Eddie's hand as well, indicating that everyone goes through this ordeal. Before formally including Sarah in their community, Jerry calls her in for a test. He and Brian monitor Sarah and administer a lie detector test. Jerry explains to Sarah that the people in this building are part of a community based on 4 principles outlined in the book: selflessness, openness, acceptance, and security. The next day, Jerry starts to guide Sarah on these principles, telling her about each person in the apartment. A few days later, Jerry and Brian monitor Sarah again. This time, they ask her about her father. She reveals that she doesn't like him because he was unfaithful to her mother, even though he is a caring person. Sarah explains that her mother, who suffered from cancer, lived her whole life believing her husband was loyal. In fact, her mother never knew about his infidelity until she passed away. This is why Sarah lives apart from her father and independently. Jerry asks Sarah if she wants to be part of their community, but Sarah declines, requesting more time to understand things better. Gradually, Sarah starts to connect with the residents and participates in their daily activities, such as cooking and attending parties. A few days later, Jerry and Brian test Sarah again. This time, Sarah asks for more time. Following this, she is moved to a room where she is monitored via CCTV. Here, we see that almost everyone in the apartment is under CCTV surveillance, which explains how they knew Sarah had a cat. Once Sarah was in the security room with Brian, she questioned him about who was monitoring everyone and why. However, Brian remained silent. At that moment, Sarah noticed Eddie struggling in his room, as if he urgently needed medical attention. In the next scene, we see Sarah and Lester in Eddie's room. It turns out Lester was a doctor, and that's why he was sent to help Eddie. Soon, everyone in the apartment gathered in Eddie's room, as it was his final moments. They bid their farewells to Eddie, and then, a person covered Eddie's face with plastic and suffocated him to death. Sarah was deeply disturbed by this, but she pretended to be indifferent. Following this incident, Sarah was called in for another test, and this time, she agreed to join the community. Afterward, Jerry brought Sarah before everyone and used a heat gun to brand a community mark on her head, signifying her acceptance into their group. There was a celebration for Sarah joining the community. During the party, Jerry told Sarah that a few months prior, they had lost a member to cancer, Lester's wife. Since Lester was now alone, Sarah would have to pair up with him according to the community's rules. Later, when Sarah was in her room, Jerry came and informed her that her father had arrived and that Sarah needed to sever her relationship with him to prevent him from coming back. Sarah's father came to the apartment, apologized to her, and pleaded with her to come home. Seeing her father, Sarah broke down in tears and hugged him. However, Brian was watching this on the monitor and quietly entered through the back door, intending to kill Sarah's father. By this point, Sarah realized their deadly intentions. She argued with her father and urged him to leave immediately to save his life. Days later, a vacancy sign was placed outside the apartment, and many people came to view it. Surprisingly, one of them was Sarah's friend Lisa, and Jerry selected Lisa to become a member of their community. Sarah warned Jerry that it wouldn't be easy to integrate Lisa into their community because Lisa was very different. Nevertheless, Lisa arrived, and they subjected her to the same torturous process Sarah had endured. Lisa defied Jerry and Brian, and during the torture, she even cut Brian's ear. Seeing this, Jerry sent Sarah to Lisa, hoping Sarah could persuade her to join the community. Sarah tried to convince Lisa, but Lisa declared that she would never be part of their brainwashed society. She then pushed Sarah away and attempted to escape. Jerry caught Lisa and tied her hands. By now, Sarah fully understood what had happened to her and how these people had manipulated and brainwashed her into becoming one of them. Sarah attacked Jerry with a screwdriver and fled with Lisa's help. Jerry shot Lisa with his gun, killing her. In retaliation, Sarah killed Jerry with a hammer. Sarah took the keys and gun from Jerry's body and noticed a mark on Jerry's ear and the same wounds on his hands. This revealed to her that Jerry was not the originator of this community. It meant that Jerry himself had been brainwashed, and there were many others before him who had been similarly manipulated to perpetuate this community. Suddenly, an alarm went off, and everyone rushed to the scene. Sarah held them back at gunpoint. Brian tried to persuade Sarah not to leave. Sarah demanded to know who started this community. Brian revealed that Jerry wasn't the founder. It was a man named Charles. Charles wrote The Power of Community book, and the 4 principles they followed belonged to this same individual. Hearing this, Sarah shot Brian and started to run. But as soon as the main door opened, a member of the community grabbed Sarah. Unexpectedly, Lester snatched the gun from Sarah's hand, shot the man, and urged Sarah to run. Lester closed the door, blocking the others, and then tragically shot himself. Sarah escaped the apartment, initially believing she was safe. However, after going a short distance, she saw a property sign with the same symbol as the one outside her apartment. This horrifyingly indicated that there wasn't just one community, but many apartments or communities where these people lived. Clearly, the same disturbing rules were being enforced in all those apartments. Suddenly, an alarm began to sound across all the buildings, and Sarah started to laugh hysterically at the realization. After this, she began to run. And that's how the movie concludes. So, friends, that was the story of 1BR.